All right, good morning, everyone. Last week, I think I got more messages than I ever got after a class last week. Everyone seemed to love the class last week. We had a lot of halakha last week, and I think people like halakha. So of course, this week, we're going to do zero halakha. We're going to do some Kabbalah this week. Let's see how it goes. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, we don't have to do it anymore. But there's a very deep concept that I want to go through. Parashat Behaalotecha is packed, and I want to focus, like I wrote in the chat, on the people complaining for meat and Hashem sending the slav, the birds, for the people to eat meat. It was not a good time in our history. And so first I just want to read you some of the Pisukim, and then I want to try to reread them later. And so the people are complaining, and they say, V'hasafsuf asher b'kebo. I think ArtScroll translates this the rabble, the stragglers, the Erev Rav, the people who came from Egypt and joined the nation. They were complaining. They wanted more meat. We remember the fish. We want the veggies. We hate the man. We're so sick of the man. V'haman, and then the Torah goes on to describe the man. V'haman, kizra gadhu, is like a seed, like a coriander seed. Ve'eno ke'ena bedolach shatu am, they would go and collect it. What did it taste like? Keta'am leshad hashamin, like honey. Moshe hears them and he's not happy. He goes to Hashem and he starts complaining. And Moshe says to Hashem, Me'ayin li basar, where in the world am I going to get meat? Latet lechol ha'amazeh, to give all these people. Ki yivku alai lemor, they tell me, tenalano basar v'nochela, that we want meat to eat. Where am I supposed to get all this meat from? Lo uchal anochi lebadi, I can't do it alone. Laset lechol ha'amazeh, to carry this nation, ki chabed b'minik, because it's too heavy. V'im kacha at oseli, horgeni naharog. And then Hashem says, Moshe goes on and says, 600,000 ragli, 600,000. Asher anochi b'kirbo, that I am amongst them. Ve'ata amata, and you say, Hashem, basar etin lahem, you're going to give them meat? Ve'achilu chodesh yamim, they're going to have enough meat for a month? Hason ubakar yishahet lahem u'masar lahem. Flocks and cattle, we're going to slaughter for them and find for them. Imet kod dege hayam yasef lahem u'masar lahem. You're going to find all the fish in the sea to collect for them and to find for them? Hashem, what are you going to do here? How are you supposed to feed all these people? Hashem answers, Hayad Hashem tiksad, is my hand short? What are you, doubting my power? You're going to see. Atatir you will see now. Whether my actions, my words will be fulfilled. And so there's some very obvious questions here. It's astounding. Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest person that ever lived, you're doubting Hashem's powers? Where are we going to get all the meat from? You're talking to God here. What do you mean? He made all the meat. Where are you doubting Hashem's ability to provide meat for the people? It's such a simple thing. What, are you joking? He's getting man from heaven. Man falls from the sky. Food falls from the sky. And you're doubting that he has enough quantity meat to give to the people? Moshe Rabbeinu? And then he goes on. Maybe you won't be able to find the meat. You're right, God. Maybe you won't be able to find the meat. Fish? You're going to go for fish? I know what you're thinking. The meat's not going to... You're going to go for fish? Where are you going to... All the fish from the sea? You're going to find for them? Hashem has to find fish? Moshe Rabbeinu, this is the leader? This is our greatest person that ever lived? You're doubting Hashem's powers? Besides, the people said we want meat. Moshe is offering fish. Now they said Zachanu Tadaga, we remember the fish, but they wanted meat. They said, Moshe Rabbeinu, what in the world is he doing? He's saying, Hashem, how can you find them enough meat? You're going to slaughter for them meat? You're going to collect all the fish? What is that? Like doubting Hashem's abilities? And what did Hashem say? It's interesting, Hashem's answer. Don't worry, I'm going to send tons of meat. So Moshe is doubting, so to speak, Hashem. Not sure you can provide the meat. Not sure you can even provide the fish. So Hashem chooses what? Birds? Option 3? The whole thing doesn't make sense. Hashem says, I'm going to give them meat. They ask for meat. Basar, meat. Moshe says, not sure you can provide the meat. Maybe you can provide the fish. Even that's a stretch. And Hashem goes, actually, forgive me for saying it. It seems like Hashem says, actually, I can't do the meat or the fish. I'm going to do bird. And this is Hashem proving himself. Hayad Hashem tiksad. Are you doubting me? I so too can provide them meat. I'm going to send them some birds. What? If you want to prove yourself, send them some lamb. The whole thing doesn't make sense from Moshe's question to Hashem's answer. In addition, in the middle, we have Hashem saying, before the meat, we're in the middle talking about the meat, Hashem says, go get 70 guys. You have to make a Sanhedrin. You have to have 70 rabbis. You're not doing it yourself anymore. What does it have to do with what I'm asking you right now? It's Falish Shiv'im Ish. Go get 70 guys. Get the 70 guys, and now, okay, good. Now the meat's coming. Now the bird's coming. What in the world is going on here? Also, why does Moshe say, Matzah lahem? He keeps saying, are you going to find for them? You're going to find for them fish? You're going to find for them meat? Hashem doesn't find nothing. Hashem snaps his fingers, it's right there. And so there's a very deep Kabbalistic concept here that I want to go through. I read this, I was in New York all week, and I went, my coworker's Lubavitch, so I went with him to the Ohel, where the Lubavitch Rebbe is buried. And when he was walking around, I was reading a book. I attach myself more to books than to graves. And so I pulled out one of the books in the bookshelf. It was a very interesting sefer, very deep sefer, and I studied it. And then he came and we studied together. And it's called Likutei Torah. It's from the Behaalotecha, the person who wrote the Tanya. This is a collection of his writings on the Chumash. So I read this myself. It's very deep stuff. And I want to share it with you. The key words here is, when Moshe Rabbeinu is complaining to Hashem, I read it to you, he says, Asher anochi betocham. Are you going to provide meat for the people that I am amongst them? That I am amongst them, Asher anochi betocham? Why did he put that in there? Ha'am, 600,000 ragli, 600,000 people, Asher anochi betocham, that I am amongst them. That's the key to the whole thing. Asher anochi betocham means, I am like them, and they are like me. I brought them to such a high level. They're at my level right now. Could it be that they're actually asking for meat when they reach the same level as their Rebbe, as me? Anochi betocham, I'm just like them. And even if they blundered and asked for the meat, could it be, Hashem, you're going to give them what they want? You're going to give them the meat? We're going to stoop down to such a low level? Why was Moshe Rabbeinu's level so high that he couldn't ask for meat? That asking for meat was a bad thing. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu above eating meat? To answer this question, we should really ask another question. And by the way, I just want to put a disclaimer. If any of this doesn't seem to make sense or is wrong, it's not the rabbis. It's me, how I understood it and paraphrasing it, because I'm adding my own twist on it. Why in Gan Eden were we vegetarians? When Hashem created the world, Hashem says to Adam, the grass is for you and the fruit is for you for food. He doesn't say that the meat is for you for food. Now granted, there is an opinion in the Gemara that Adam HaRishon maybe ate meat. There is also another opinion that maybe he only ate meat if it died from natural causes, but he didn't kill the meat. But the actual pshat level, the pshat understanding, the basic understanding is that we were vegetarians in Gan Eden. We were not meat eaters. As we go through the Torah, the first person to be given permission to eat meat was Noah. After the flood, Noah made a sacrifice. Hashem smells it, and Hashem says, you're allowed to eat meat now. All the meat is for you to eat. So according to the basic biblical reading, just take out a Bible and read it. Adam HaRishon, vegetarian. Everyone until Noah, vegetarian. After the flood, no longer vegetarian. And now it seems, fast forward a few thousand years later, look at our Shabbat dinners. It seems that we've come all the way around, and not only we are not vegetarians, we're obsessed, we're carnivores. We love eating meat. It's a mitzvah to eat meat. You have to eat meat on Shabbat. So how do we make such a flip? What in the world happened? Shouldn't we try to be more like we were in Gan Eden? And so this is the type of question that's going to lead us to the answer. Moshe Rabbeinu, he brought the people in the desert to such a high level. Rabbi Avigdor Miller says this is the best 40 years in the history of mankind. It was the yeshiva with Moshe Rabbeinu. Don't think that this nation was such a terrible, this generation was so terrible. Yes, in Tehillim, we might read it today, but I doubt we have time. Tehillim 78, if we don't read it, just read it on your own. Tehillim number 78 is a history of us, and it spends a lot of time of us in the desert, and also a bunch of verses about this story in Tehillim number 78 about the meat. And David HaMelech calls them Ben Sorer o Moreh, a wayward dor, a wayward generation, but we can't take it literally. On their level, they were judged very tough. This was a very intense, high spiritual generation. They were with Moshe Rabbeinu for 40 years. These people, we couldn't touch the bottom of their toenails. Just to show you another point from Rabbi Miller, if you look at this episode, it says it was bad in the eyes of Hashem, u'v'einei Moshe ra, and in the eyes of Moshe it was bad as well. Very rarely does it say that. It doesn't say very often until that something was bad in Moshe's eyes, because the answer is it's not bad in Moshe's eyes. Most of the problems that we made in the desert, to any of us, to any human being, wouldn't be a big problem. 3 days without water. 3 days without a drink. It's only normal to say, we need water. I mean, we punish them for what they did because we read it sitting in our beautiful living rooms on our couches with water, sparkless water machines. It's easy for us to be a Monday morning quarterback and look back at them and say, look at this generation, but put yourself in their shoes. It's not easy. And so most of the things that they did, we would not be able to find fault with. 10 things they did in 40 years, 10 tests in 40 years. 40 years, 10 tests. These people were almost angels. They were perfect. And so this one, Moshe said, you know what? I don't like this one either. Why? Why did Moshe like this one? Why was this one bad also for Moshe Rabbeinu? All the questions are answered together. When we understand this Gan Eden, no meat, vegetarian, versus now eating meat. So here's the Kabbalistic part. We know that when Hashem created the world, first the animals were created, and then we were created. We were created last. Right? It's like when you have a VIP guest, the whole party is done first. They set up the tables, they set up the food, they set up the trays, and then walks in the guests. We were the guest of honor. When we walked into the scene, everything was ready for us. The whole world is created. But, according to the Zohar, animals, everything in this world is sourced from a higher world. Everything is powered, every living thing especially, gets its source from some sort of higher world in Shamayim. Animals come from the world of Tohu. Like in the Bereshit it says, the world was Tohu Vabohu, which is a big balagan. It was just a mixture of not organized. There was a lot of spirituality. Hashem's spirituality was there. Until Hashem organized and minimized and separated good and bad and made man. We are from the world of tikkun. Tikkun is fixing things. It's organizing things. So animals, technically, are powered from a higher source than we are, technically speaking. They're powered, they're sourced from a higher world than we are. This might be why animal has more power than us. You see an animal jump. You see an animal run. They have raw power. What do we have? And we're on top of the food chain. What do we have? We have organized power. We're organized. We're structured. We use our brains and we harness the animal kingdom and we take a horse and we ride it. And we take a cow and we attach a plow to it. Even our cars now are horsepower, right? We dominate the animal kingdom not because of our brute strength, because we are structured and planned and organized. We're thinking. We are midaber. In the classifications of things in this world, we're called midaber. We speak. And so it's interesting. The animal helps us when we eat the animal or ride the animal or use the animal for work. We benefit from the animal kingdom or wear the animal as leather belts or shoes. We benefit from the animal kingdom. And they benefit from us as well. If someone's riding a horse wagon, a horse carriage, the animal, or riding on top of a horse, he's riding on the horse is literally lifting him up. Literally, physically lifting him up. And spiritually, you're lifting that horse up. Why? Because they come from a world of tohu. They come from a world of just non-organized kedusha, mixed everywhere, mixed the bad and the good, and comes us and organizes it. And here's the proof. An animal walks on all fours. A human walks on 2 feet. Why? Because we are organized vertically. An animal's head is down with his behind, or in the behind of the next animal in front of him. An animal's head is no different than an animal's leg. All the parts of the animal are disorganized. Comes the human beings and we stand up on 2 feet, and as we move higher in the body, there's more holiness and kedusha. And so our head, which is the highest, has the moach. That's where the neshama is. Our neshama is in our head. It's the highest part in our body. We stand up straight. Our nose, which we always talk about, which is the scent of smell. Very spiritual scent. We make besamim. For those who were in the besamim class a couple of weeks ago. Last week, I don't even know when. Besamim, smell. Ruach comes from the word ruhaniyut. Spirituality, spirit. It's in your nose. That's how we were created. The mouth is also very holy. As we go down, the heart is holy, but less so is the mouth. We don't follow our hearts in Judaism. This whole follow your heart thing, we don't go by follow your heart. Follow your mind. Let your mind lead your heart. As we get lower and lower, we become more animalistic. As we get higher and higher, we become more angelic. What's the most impure part of the body? The feet. If you touch your feet and you want to make a blessing, you have to wash your hands. Feet are the most impure part of the body. For example, one halacha. See, we do halacha in the end. One halacha. There's a halacha. If someone wants to make a blessing or pray, they have to make sure their hands are clean. And so if let's say you scratched your head or you touched inside your shirt or itched something or anywhere that's usually covered, you touched a place that was usually covered, even your own body, you got to wash your hands first before you make a blessing. However, there are many poskim who say, let's say you just got out of the shower. You just got out of the shower and your body is clean. You didn't start sweating yet. And you touch inside your arm or your stomach or something. There are poskim, Mechamed says from the letter of the law, you don't have to wash your hands. You just got out of the shower. But if you touch your feet, I don't care if your feet were sitting in soap for 15 hours, you have to wash your hands. Feet are the most impure part of the body. As we go lower in the body, we get more impurity. Your foot is closer to the animal. The whole animal is like his foot. His head's like his foot. That's why his head is down. Our head is upright. We organize the Kiddusha. So far, so good? So even though we come from a lower world, the world of tikkun, of order, we're able to pick up the spirit, the sparks from the higher world, the animal sparks, and elevate them. We help them get organized, and they help us because they're really powered. So when we eat a piece of meat, there's a Gemara that says, the rabbi in the Gemara says, I only can answer good questions in the Gemara, in Torah, if I eat a piece of meat. He was in touch with the spiritual power of the food we eat. Hashem buried sparks in everything in the Torah that's kosher. There's kiddusha in those things. And you can use that, make a beracha, bless on it. Use it for holy things, it gives you power. Something that's not kosher, there's nothing in there for you. You can't get power from it, spiritual power. If someone were to eat not kosher food, they're not going to get spiritual power, maybe physical power, animalistic power from the non-kosher food, but there's no spirituality in that food that you can use for the good. Only in kosher food, only in kosher marriages, only in kosher things there's spirituality in there that you can elevate. And so not only when it comes to riding an animal, when it comes to eating an animal. So when we take an animal, we eat it, we make a blessing, we chew it, we organize the sparks, and we basically filter out the good from the bad. We take the good, and it's nurturing our souls and raising us. Why? Because it comes from a higher power. It was created before us in the order of creation. The people in the desert, they got back to the level of Gan Eden. Moshe Rabbeinu got them back to the level of Gan Eden. Adam Harishon didn't need to eat food, to eat meat. He was on such a high level, he didn't need to collect any sparks from meat. He was above it all. After the flood, when mankind sinned, and Hashem had to destroy the whole world, Hashem says, you know what? Eat the meat. You're not ready to be vegetarians yet. Eat the meat. Get your Kiddusha from the food around you. Why now is it a mitzvah to eat meat? We're still there. We need the Kiddusha in the meat. When you eat a piece of meat, there's Kiddusha in there. You make a kosher piece of meat, make a blessing, it helps us. It powers us. If someone were to be a vegetarian, it's allowed according to halakha. It's allowed. But you are missing out on some of the Kiddusha that's inside the kosher meat. Hashem says something is kosher for you, you should eat it. Okay. By the way, that's why Adam, a name of something reflects what the person's all about. If you break through the letters of Adam, Aleph, Daled, Mem, there are three components. There are Mahshaba, Dibur, and Ma'aseh. Whenever we do something, there's the thought, the idea to do it, and then that comes out in words. Every time you say a word, that word is a manifestation of some thought in your head. You don't speak without thinking, even though some people speak without thinking. There was a split-second thinking process in your brain, and your words will never fully express what your machshaba is. You can't. It's impossible to fully express what your machshaba is in your brain, whether conscious or subconscious. And then once you speak out the plan, there's the action. There's the ma'aseh, how you put it into work, right? Mahshaba, thought, is hidden from everyone. No one knows what's in other people's brains. Dibur, you speak out into existence, and the action, the ma'aseh, is in existence. So Aleph, Daled, Mem spells the word Adam. Aleph is the same letters as Pele, a wonder, not known. That's the thought, Mahshaba. No one knows. You don't know what's in someone else's head. It's a Pele. And the Daled is Dibur, and the last Mem is the Ma'aseh. Adam is Mahshaba, Dibur, and Ma'aseh. Again, organized. We're organized. We have a plan. We think of the plan. We have an idea, the light bulb moment, light bulb in the head. We have a speak it out. I want to do this and this. And then we go ahead and execute it. Okay. Now let's go back to Moshe Rabbeinu's question. Moshe Rabbeinu says, these people are asking for meat. 600,000 ragli. The people that I am amongst them, they're just like me. I am just like them. We're all together, the level of Gan Eden. We're above eating meat. We're the greatest generation since Gan Eden, since Adam Harishon. And now they want to eat meat? They don't need to eat meat. They don't need the sparks from the meat. They don't need that. And he says to Hashem, that's why the words, Asher Anochi B'Kidbo, that I am amongst them, that's key words. And he says to Hashem, what are you going to do over here? Hason ubakar yishahit lahem umasa lahem. The cattle on the flocks, you're going to slaughter for them. Hashem's going to slaughter for them? Or we're going to slaughter it? What would be the plan? Hashem doesn't slaughter things for us. Why slaughtering? How do we do tikkun for the animal? We have an animal. Ben Ish Hai says, by the way, there could be gilgulim in the animals. There could be reincarnations in the animals. Some people don't like gilgulim. Noted. It's out there. Ben Ish Hai says that there are gilgulim in the animals, and how do you do tikkun and help that soul? By doing shechita properly, right? Shechita is a way to do tikkun for the animal as well. Hashem, what are you going to do? Shechita for the animals? Hason bakari shachit lahem. They need this. The people are down to the level of slaughtering again? I thought we were above that. Umatzalahim, you're going to find for them? What are they going to find for them? They're going to find the Kiddusha and the meat? The people are going to start finding Kiddusha and the meat? Maybe not the meat. Maybe they're not on such a low level, Hashem. Imit kodege hayam yasef lahem. Maybe the fish is better. Fish doesn't need shechita. Something that doesn't need shechita means it's already holier. The fish is already holier than the meat because it doesn't require the tikkun process of slaughtering it. You take a fish, you eat it. It doesn't need shechita. Back to the Ben Ish Chai, for the Gilgulim. Ben Ish Chai says, there are almost 0 Gilgulim in fish. Almost 0. Fish are very holy. So Hashem, what are you going to do? You're going to do slaughtering? No. Can't be you're going to do that. They're above that. Maybe you'll do the fish. You're going to gather the fish. No shechita on fish. It doesn't say the word shechita. Just gathering. And that's how they're going to find their spirituality. Hashem answers, Hayad Hashem tiksad. Are you doubting my hand? The people, they did drop. Now, not all the people. The safsuf, hasafsuf, the rabble, the erev rab. Only a few people stoop down to this level. We're all blamed always in the generation of the desert. We're all blamed for the transgressions of just a few people. That's how high of a level we were on. A few of the people did go down, Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem answers Moshe Rabbeinu and says, they went down. They're not on the level of Gan Eden. Not everyone. Are you doubting my abilities? Hayad Hashem tiksad. I take this as a challenge. Are you doubting my abilities? Now you're going to see. Okay, what are you going to see? Lamb? No lamb. Bird. Slav. Why bird? Why would Hashem give bird? Show off your power. Steaks. Filet mignon. Bird. Why? And Hashem is saying, what I'm going to do is, you're doubting the fact that they need to find holiness in the food they eat. They're above that. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu said the man is enough for us. The man is enough. What's so holy about the man? Look at the description of the man. Kizra gad lavan. The man was white. Mufashim tell us it was white. Well, breast milk is white. What else does it say? V'ta'amo ketam l'shad hashamin. The shad hashamin they translate, I think, as flowing honey, but shad is also a breast. This is Hashem's breast milk. Hashem literally sent down the holiest breast milk from heaven. The shad hashamin, it's like oil. The man, when it says in the Gemara, the man can taste like anything they wanted. Maybe it was literal, but it's also very likely it was spiritual. If you're tapped in to the benefits of eating, why do we eat? If I want God's food, and this is what's good for me because it comes straight from Him and there's all nourishment, it tastes better to you. It's not only how it sounds like on a very base level, it could be, but it's also a spiritual level. The more spiritual you are, the better something tastes, right? If I were to say that your grandma, I'm assuming almost no one's grandmas are alive anymore in this room. If your grandma can come back down, if Hashem would give a pass for your grandma to come back down and cook you a meal, and you get to sit and have one meal with your grandma, do you think you're going to care how that food tastes? It could be the most saltiest food, the most blandest food. It's going to be delicious to you. It's going to be delicious. Because the taste, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, so is taste. Hashem gives me man, that it tastes like everything. Again, like we always say, not everything is on a second grade level. Not everything is on a second grade level. When the Gemara says it tasted like whatever you want it to taste like, let's think spiritually, let's think maturely here. This is God's food, straight from Hashem. Every ounce of this food goes straight into my body with no waste. That's delicious, right? Moshe Rabbeinu brought them to this level. And Hashem saying, no. They went down. And now they need to go ahead and go back to the way it was, and to eat food, and to eat meat, and to take out whatever holiness they can from the act of chewing food. And now, just to show you how powerful I am and how much I can do what I say, I'm going to pack in as many sparks as I can in the place where you would least expect it. To understand this, we're almost done. We have to understand what shaman is. The man was described as tasting like honey. Not honey also, but oil. What's so good about oil? Oil is very, very holy. Why is oil so? We have oil all over our religion. But what's so special about oil? And so Kabbalistically they say, oil represents wisdom. When you have a flame, you want to burn something. If you want to burn something, you have a few choices of candles you can use, right? If you were to burn, let's say, wood, light the wood on fire, the way that you get the fire is by destroying the wood, by burning up the wood. As the wood burns, you get a fire. When it comes to a wick, you put oil in the wick, the oil seeps into the wick 100%. It permeates every ounce. The wick becomes full of oil. Oil is soaked into the wick, and then the wick burns. As we say, the Zohar says, the Shekhinah, on top of everyone's head, is the Shekhinah burning like a candle. But the problem is you have to light it. Above every one of us spiritually, there's a burning light from Hashem, but we have to light the candle. How do we light it? The Shekhinah is the flame. We are the wick, but we need oil. And the oil is the Torah and Mitzvot that we do. We do Torah and Mitzvot that soaks into us. We're the wick. It soaks into us, and now we are able to burn, not be consumed. The wick doesn't burn up. The wick stays. We are able to burn with the flame of Hashem, and we're okay because we're full of oil. That's the power of oil. Now, shemen is the same as shuman, fat. It comes from the same word. Fat is oily. Shuman, fat, is oil. And so what Hashem do? Hashem put into the food fat. The food that we eat, we don't eat very gamey foods. It's not kosher. We eat fatty meats. Domestic animals that just sit there all day long. That's what we eat, right? Why? Because oil is the chesed and the chokhmah of Hashem. Oil is the treasure. And so Hashem injects oil into the meat. Hashem injects fat. The fat is oil. It's the same word. Shemen and shuman is the same word. When we eat the fatty meats, that's how we get elevated. That comes into us now. And so Hashem said, I'm going to take something that has very, very little fat content. Bird. Quail. I'm going to take bird, which has very little fat content, which means there's very little to be uplifted there, and I'm going to inject it with tons of shuman, tons of shemen. It's going to be very fatty. It's going to be in their teeth. The Gemara says that this quail was so fatty, they had to put 15, if they put 15 pieces of bread on top of it, they couldn't eat it still. It was too fatty. Hashem super injected. You want it? You got it. Hashem super injected so much fat into the birds, it was exploding with fat. Hayad Hashem tiksar. Hashem was saying, don't doubt me. I can take the lowest thing in the world, I can pump it up with shuman. Okay. What is the idea here? So this is very deep Kabbalistically. I thought it was interesting. Plus I had a very long week and I read this and I said I'm sharing this, whether you like it or not. But it's actually very interesting and it's very nogeya. It's not halakha l'ma'aseh like last week. But when we do our daily lives, when we go and eat, when we are with our spouses, when we're working, every single part of our physical existence, we have to understand the crazy things that are happening in heaven. Hashem buried inside our physical lives tons of kedusha. All we have to do is follow the rules. That's the beauty of Judaism. Go out and enjoy this world. That's what we do. Go out and enjoy this world. Go work, make a lot of money, eat a delicious meal. Go ahead and enjoy it. It's all, as long as it's kosher. We follow the rules. We elevate so much. It's incredible. We don't even have an idea how much we elevate the food. And so therefore, a little understanding. When Moshe Rabbeinu, again, a deep understanding of this argument. When Moshe Rabbeinu tells Hashem, we're going to find the meat. We're going to slaughter the meat. Fish. You're going to gather the fish. He's saying, Hashem, they're above this. Don't go back to the way it was. And Moshe says, no. Hashem says, no, you're wrong. They need help. They dropped 70 rabbis. Right away in the middle. Get 70 rabbis. They need more rabbis. They're not at the level you think they are. Once you have the more rabbis, now watch what I do. I was doubted. Hayad Hashem tiksad. I'm going to send down birds. I'm going to load it with shumat, with halev. And that's really what did them wrong. Unfortunately, they had a very bad ending and it hit them. So the lesson for us is, very deep level, let's get back to like planet Earth. The lesson for us is, we go about our daily lives, we follow the rules. Don't just think, oh, I'm eating. Rabbi Victor Miller says, just all you have to do is say 4 words before everything you do. It'll change your life. Before you go to sleep, say, I'm sleeping, l'shem shamayim. I'm eating, l'shem shamayim. It's literally 4 words. I'm working, l'shem shamayim. It'll change our lives. And, as he always says, the outwardness will eventually reflect on the inwardness. You'll start believing it. If you say it enough times, you'll start believing it inside. That's the lesson for today. I hope it wasn't too deep. That's the lesson of the Slav from the Likutei Torah.